Hey guys, Nina here, welcoming you to another reading from the Ladies of Horror Picture Prompt Monthly Challenge, hosted by Elaine Pascale on her channel, The Godmother of Horror. If you'd like to read along or read previously published pieces, please visit spreadingthewritersword.com or ladiesofhorror.com. In the meanwhile, enjoy the reading.
Whispers in the Weld by Kathleen McCluskey. Henry had spent years perfecting his craft. In the dim, echoing halls of the shipyard, he felt at home. The creaking of metal, the hiss of his welder's torch, and the acrid smell of burning steel were his companions. Tonight he had a special job, one that paid well enough to make him ignore the gnawing sense of unease that crept up his spine. The client, a shadowy figure that Henry only met once, had given him clear instructions. Weld the massive rusted door shut and ensure it could never be opened again. The door led to the labyrinth of hallways in the shipyard's old abandoned storage units. Henry had heard that the old corridors were haunted by whispers and shadows, but he didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in cold, hard cash. As he struck the arc and began to weld, sparks flew, casting eerie, dancing shadows across the darkened hallway. The sound of the torch drowned out all other sound, or so he thought. But soon he realized he could hear something under the sizzle and crackle of his work. It was faint at first, a low murmur that grew louder with every pass of his torch. He paused, lifted his mask, and listened. The whispers were unmistakable now, growing into desperate, pleading voices. "Help us!" they cried. "Don't seal us in!" Henry paused, the collective plea ringing in his mind. He leaned in, placing his ear on the cold, rusty door. Suddenly, a withered hand, grayish-black with long, dirty, yellow fingernails, shot out from a crack and tried to grab him. The touch was icy, sending a jolt of terror through him. He reacted instinctively and slammed the door shut hard. His heart raced. He fumbled for his torch. Sparks flew as he welded that particular spot immediately. He began sealing the hand and whatever horrors it belonged to back into the darkness. Henry's heart pounded, but he forced himself to focus. He had to finish the job. The client was very specific. No questions, no hesitation. He resumed welding, but the voices became frantic, more desperate. They spoke of betrayal, of being trapped, and about an evil that needed to be contained. The evil was an ancient and malevolent force that fed on fear and despair. Trapped long ago by those who understood its insidious power, it could twist reality and consume souls, growing stronger with each soul it claimed. Now the time-worn seals that had been in place for centuries began to rust. The temperature around him plummeted, and Henry's ragged breath came out in white puffs. Shadows seemed to move at the edge of his vision, writhing and stretching like long tendrils. He told himself it was just his imagination, a trick of the light, but deep down, he knew better. The voices called again, merging into one collective cry. It was a low, guttural rumble that seemed to vibrate deep within Henry's skull. "We are innocent," it pleaded, the desperation palpable. "Please, do not lock us in." Henry looked around and shook his head. With a final, decisive pass, he completed the weld. The door was once again sealed shut. The job was done. The voices fell silent, and an oppressive, eerie calm settled into the air. Henry packed up his tools, ready to leave and never return. As he turned to go, a chill ran down his spine. He glanced back at the door and saw something that made his blood run cold. A set of handprints, smeared with rust, and something darker, thick, almost black like congealed blood, had appeared on the newly welded seam. The prints were unmistakably human, yet something about their shape and the way they seemed to pulsate in the dim light suggested something sinister. It was now trapped and furious. As Henry fled, the door shook violently in its frame, as if something enraged and powerful was trying to break free. The metallic clang echoed through the empty corridor, a chilling reminder of the malevolent force now sealed once again behind the rusted barrier.